Today's conversation is with Colleen West, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist in the San Francisco East Bay, where we're both located in this area. Uh, Colleen integrates internal family systems, which is working with and healing one's internal traumatized child parts so that she can help many more people who come and work with her. She has also seen remarkable healing through EMDR. And so Colleen is actually an EMDR trainer in the East Bay and beyond, as well as a consultant for psychotherapists. Hi, Colleen. How are you doing today?
Hi, Brian.
It's great.
I'm well.
Good, good. It's great to see you. I just have to say this publicly. You're just one of those people that whenever I have interaction with you, I just feel good about myself. You just have that great energy, and I just have to say that publicly. You're just a
That
great person.
that is so sweet. Likewise.
Thank you, thank you. And I just really appreciate you taking the time out. And so, why don't we just dive straight in? And if you can share with us a little bit about how you got into psychotherapy as a profession.
Yeah. Well, that's got kind of a positive spin and a negative spin. So, like so many wounded healers, I came from a really dysfunctional family, and they needed me to be their therapist in a certain way. I listened to my parents. I was their confidant, and I was always kind of oil on the water person in my family. And so it came really naturally later to choose this. What I've found over time is that it's actually such a great match for me because I love the internal workings of the mind and the heart. And so it's a really positive fit for me. The other thing is that I get really bored when I do things repetitively over and over and over again. And psychotherapy for me is just like a miracle because every session is fascinating and I'm never bored.
Mm-hmm.
There's also always more to learn.
Mm-hmm. Constant learning. And yeah, thank you for opening up and sharing about that as well. The
Yeah.
positives as well as kind of where it came from. And I think many people therapists listening can relate to that journey, the wounded healer journey.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. And talk a little bit about, if you can tell us a little bit about EMDR in particular. How did you start to specialize in it? And then how did you take it to the next level where now you're training other therapists in EMDR?
Yeah. Well, I read a little article about it when I was in graduate school, and I thought, wow, this sounds really fascinating. But I was overwhelmed, like everybody, getting licensed and, doing all your hours and all of that. And as soon as I got my license, I said, this is the first training I'm going to take.
Mm-hmm.
And in that training, I was one of the people that they demonstrated on. And I had been working in talk therapy for years on some of these issues. And in that one, like 30-minute session, I saw tons of healing on this one trauma that I was carrying around. So it was really inspiring. And what happened was, I'm just the kind of person who I like to get more and more training. So I want to know everything there is to know about whatever topic that I'm excited about. So I just kept taking trainings, and pretty soon I was a consultant, and then I was asked to supervise the practicum in the EMDR trainings in our area. Mm-hmm. So it was just a natural progression for me.
I see. And I'm sure most people listening know what EMDR, is, but for the possibly people out there that are not sure what it is, if we can just back up and can you share
Sure.
a little bit about EMDR and how you define it?
Yeah, there's actually still a lot of people who don't know what it is. It stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And it's a pretty prescribed protocol where you go back into a person's traumatic memories by lighting them up in the body, the feelings, the beliefs, the emotions, the images. And when all that's lit up, then you use eye movements to kind of unlock the trauma. And you can also use buzzing like pulsars. Mm-hmm. Or tones alternating. And with kids, I just tap them. And that seems to unlock the way the trauma is stored in the brain. And then it it becomes stored just like any other memory does. So, you know, if you ask most people do they remember their 8-year-old birthday, people say no, because memories are supposed to fall into the past unless your 8-year-old birthday was like terrible, traumatic, right? Or great, then you'll remember it. But so memories just become right-sized, instead of being something where you were humiliated or didn't stand up for yourself or whatever. They just become a memory that happened to a kid, and you take it in stride now. So it creates a lot of change in the present by how you look at yourself.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for elaborating and expanding on that. And let's talk a little bit about private practice and your business of your private practice. So there's two parts of your business. There's the private practice part and there's the consulting side. So maybe we can unpack each of those at different times. And if you could share a little bit about the private practice, like when did you actually decide to go into private practice, and how was the beginning part of your journey of actually finding clients and building your practice?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I got into an internship when I was doing my hours, and it was a private practice model. And so you were supposed to actually bring those clients with you into private practice, which I did. And so I had about maybe 15, 18 clients when I left that practicum setting. And then I had a private practice internship with a supervisor for a while I was finishing my hours. So I knew that I wanted to be in private practice from the beginning. Even if I do some pro bono work or some low fee work, I really wanted to be in private practice. It was just the right model for me. I love the autonomy. I love, later we built an office for me with a little waiting room and a separate entrance and exit. And so it feels professional. It's separate from my home, but it just works for me. So, yeah. So basically what happened was I was scared to death to market my business. And I just found myself like almost all other psychotherapists that I know. They love doing the work, but they don't like doing the business part of it. And so what happened was I was bumping along with those clients, and really, I'd just get a new client from time to time. And actually in 2008, the economy tanked, and I had never been happy with how many clients I had. Eventually I was bumping along, like, I know actually the average number of clients that MFTs have in California is 7 to 10 a week. So that was the range I was in. I wasn't making as much money as I wanted. And mostly I just felt like it was kind of scarcity minded, didn't have enough. So in 2008, when everything kind of crashed, the economy crashed, my clients just left in droves. They were all just worried that they weren't going to have the money to pay for therapy. So that's when I had to get serious, and I did. And what I did was I started, I did some videos, basically. And you can ask me more about those, but video for me and creating a beautiful website with a really nice interface, it launched me. Yeah. I put my videos on YouTube, and at that time, nobody was talking about the specialty of EMDR. So it was unusual.
Wow, there's a lot of different threads or different ways we can go with this. You mentioned scarcity, and I think that's interesting that you identified that it was scarcity at the time. And when the economy crashed, then your clients also might have had that same mindset. So, I mean, I'm just curious, like, how do you feel that played out in terms of the scarcity, and how were you able to it sounds like you were proactive in putting something out there, and we'll get to the videos and the marketing and what the details of that. But
Mhm.
scarcity and the mindset, do you think that affected actually how you were showing up for your practice? I mean, obviously it was, but you know, in when your clients left in 2008 as well.
Well, that's a good question. I think there was some level of fear
Mm-hmm.
of, um, for me, it felt like I was a used car salesman every time I started to think about marketing my business. It had this negative slant, like, oh, well, if you're really a great therapist, people are just going to come to you, and you don't, we're, as a profession, we're not supposed to look like we're wanting clients. We're just supposed to attract them. Um, and I had a really negative bias that if you had to kind of create a business around your practice, that I wasn't doing it right, and there was something a little bit sleazy about that. And I don't have that at all anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure where exactly it went. Of course, I've done my own therapy too, which
Sure.
healed a lot of that. But yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, no, it sounds like it's something that just, and it's interesting how when our backs are against the wall in business and private practice, whatever, you know, whoever's listening out there. I mean, a lot of times those are the times, if you think back, where you have the greatest moments of inspiration. It doesn't feel like that at the time. It probably feels very scary if all your clients are leaving you after the economy crashed in 2008. And that was a fearful time for many different industries, not just psychotherapy.
For sure.
But at the same time, you were proactive and you decided to put videos on. So let's maybe talk a little bit about that. How was it for you to start putting yourself out on video? You know, how did you get through that process, and what was the content? It sounds like it was EMDR, but if you can give a little bit more details of what the videos entailed, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I, I have a lot of thoughts about how psychotherapists do videos, and I guess I'll just say a little bit about that. I've recommended to a lot of psychotherapists to make a video because I think it, what we're selling is our humanity and our who we are, and that's hard to get just from a website.
Mm-hmm.
I also highly recommend getting a beautiful photograph that conveys who you are. So many people's headshots really aren't that friendly in a way.
Mm-hmm.
They might look really pretty or handsome, but not that friendly or soulful.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking around for somebody to make my videos, I found people who just wanted to interview a person, like they would interview a real estate agent, and the real estate agent would just say everything about themselves in their business and the kind of clients they wanted and that sort of thing. But when you're choosing a psychotherapist, you want somebody that you can pour your whole heart and soul out to. And that person, you don't want to see them talking about building their business in their video. You want to see them talking about what they're passionate about in their work. And so that's what I did. I hired a team of 2 guys who did these beautiful videos that had real content to them. So it wasn't like, a brochure, an online brochure. I just talked about what I was passionate about. And I'm passionate about people healing their traumatic pasts. And that's all I did. I did not give any thought to getting another client. I just wanted to tell the world about EMDR. And, the result was I built this reputation as being a person who just wanted to share my gifts with the world and what I knew with the world. Mm-hmm. And that's fed my practice ever since. I've had a waiting list for, I think, 5 years now.
Wow, that's incredible. And yeah, I love what you said also about the headshot, because I do look through Psychology Today profiles here and there, and That's something if you're listening out there, you definitely want to revisit. You want to convey a feeling of warmth, and my suggestion is sometimes we can't see ourselves, and maybe get an outside opinion of someone you trust, to be able to say, hey, what does this convey? And then not just the picture, but the video. I mean, this is a theme that comes back time and time again with people I interview, is that, yeah, it's not like you're not shopping a catalog here. This is you want to see who you're working with, what they're about, what's their soul like. And, sometimes a picture will convey that, but more often than not, a video will give you a little bit more detail. So I appreciate that's really great, tangible things and strategies I think people can take away for sure.
Yeah.
And talk to us a little bit about the transition then into now you've had a full practice, 5-year waiting list. Congrats, that's awesome. And then now shifting that into consulting, and you just wrapped up we're recording this interview in March, middle March of 2017, and whoever's listening out there. And Colleen actually just had a successful workshop of EMDR. So how did you make that leap? And was public speaking in your toolbox, or was that something you developed as well? Yeah. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, when I started to be one of the trainers at EMDR trainings, part of the training is that students have to do 10 hours of consultation. So it was a really natural segue into consulting with people individually on their cases, but also to start groups. So, my individual fee is really, is a substantial fee, but my groups are very reasonably priced. So, and I also love group interaction. And actually, I think the learning is better in my consultation groups. So I have 3 1-hour phone consultation groups a week, and I have 2 2-hour group consultations in person that I have here face to face each month. So basically, I get to use myself in a different way as a teacher, and I love that. I just love consulting on cases. In some ways, it's easier than sitting with a client because you're collaborating with somebody else on it. And I love collaboration. A lot of people in private practice start to feel lonely too. And this is a good kind of group interaction, group activity for me. So, does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's really, I like how you're leveraging your time in terms of consulting a few at the same time, in person and on the phone. And then again, it wasn't in your toolbox. I asked you about that. You're kind of, shaking your head. And so it sounds like it was something you had to develop. And I know a lot of people out there, they might be a little bit more introverted listening or fearful of putting themselves out there in a consultative role. I know the mind can start going, the inner critic can start going, and they may not feel like they have what it takes to be a consultant. But it sounds like it was something that you developed over time, and it was just something that in the beginning, I'm sure it was brand new and scary, but maybe also exciting. I'm just imagining that.
Yeah.
But you developed it.
Excuse me. I think you have to get to a certain point of mastery in your field before you feel like you can share it with somebody else. And so I think you have to listen to yourself, because it was a very natural transition for me when I did it. I think I did it. I was trained in EMDR 12 years ago, and I think I was a consultant by 2007. So it took me a few years to become a consultant, and in that time, I gained a lot of confidence. Yeah.
Got it. And then we don't want to talk all about business, because it's, not all about strategies, instead of just the doing, also the being. And so what are some things that you do outside of your therapy work, your consulting work that makes you feel alive, that maybe sparks creativity or lets you just be instead of do?
Yeah. Well, I just spent a couple hours in the garden now that it's spring. I love to garden. I'm a super artistic person, I think, in a very deep way. And I am a painter. I'm a oils, paint and oil, and I have also really developed my poetry in a serious way in the last year. And I'm just meticulous about how my office looks and feels. I want everybody to feel like that's like it kind of wraps around them in a beautiful way. So I also love to cook and hike, and I love life. Love to eat too.
Yes. That's great. Yeah, I liked how you talked about the environment as well. So important. And that might be another great opportunity for someone that you trust to have an outside perspective as well, to say, hey, how does my office feel like when you walk in? Because it's all about the experience, and does it make the client or patient feel welcome? And I like what you said, like you say envelope, is that the word? That's a great word, by the way. Is that what you said?
I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll go back and check it out, but something, yeah, I get what you're saying. So thanks for that. So now we're going to go back to a little bit to the business side. And, this is what I've been calling I need to find a new name for it, but I've been calling it the lightning round. I can't think of anything else. So I'm just going to ask you a series of questions, and perhaps you can just answer to your best ability here. And so starting the lightning round now. So what is what is a book that's inspired you in your business or life?
Ooh, a book. Oh, geez. There are so many.
Yeah. It's an unfair question sometimes.
Well, I'm thinking of psychology books, and there are just too many.
Yeah.
I really like The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, and I think that's a really important work. The other thing that came to mind, though, was just a personal book that really changed my life, and that was called A Pattern Language by Christopher Alexander. Mm-hmm. And he was an architect at Cal, and it's this crazy, wonderful book about how there are deep human patterns that you can either kind of enhance in your physical surroundings, or you can kind of shut those down. And it really changed my life. So for whatever it's worth, it's interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Would you recommend a therapist that's maybe in that 5 to 10 client range, or just getting their private practice started, to generalize or to be a specialist?
Oh, this is a really important question. And I want to say both. And because I think the most important thing with building your practice is doing the work in a way that you are really good at. So a way that really suits you. And some people are more generalists, and some people are more specialists. And I think it's good to have a special focus if it suits you, but not just imposed on your business because you think it's a good thing for marketing. Mm-hmm. You have to, that's really my soapbox, is people can tell that I love my work, and so they want to work with me. And I have certain therapists like that in my groups. I can just tell, oh my God, they love their work and they love their clients. And those are the people that I want to refer to. Mm-hmm. So I also have a little tip for a business tip, but I know this is the lightning rod, so I have to.
No. We'll take it. Yeah, please. No, you can't. You've got to share with us now. Please share if you don't mind.
I think a really great tip that I employed after the 2008 crash also is to join consultation groups, and join a number of consultation groups, especially with people that aren't necessarily in your specialty. So they're complementary, but not exactly like you. Because the people that you share cases with week in and week out are going to get to know your clinical work so deeply that they will refer to you. And the clients that they refer to you will be a good fit. So they're going to really know that this person wants somebody, you know, in the El Cerrito area, somebody who's older than they are, a woman, somebody who does EMDR. So I get these perfect referrals from people who know my work. And I've shared this tip with so many of my, the people who consult with me, because they aren't, no, if they're not in consulting groups, they're not getting the word out on who they truly are, right? Because people aren't going to come see you generally from a brochure or even a great website. It helps, but the best referrals come from people who know your work well.
So it's about building those relationships. And so when you're saying consulting groups, are these ones that you found in your area? Is it something that you formed or you joined it, or they're in person, I imagine, or what? Both?
In
Okay.
person.
In person. So
I'm talking in person because the kind of knowledge of one another just goes deeper.
Okay.
Yeah. And I need good referrals too. So I get a lot of phone calls for referrals, and it takes me a lot of time to find the right referrals out there. And I generally give them to people in my consultation groups. Yeah. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. So you're facilitating those consulting groups, but you've been a part of them and you are a part of them still as well. So you do both sides now.
All of the above.
And then I love what you said earlier, just backing up. I know it's the lightning round, but it's fine. We'll play it by ear. It's, people can tell if the therapist loves their work. And this goes across all industries as well. I mean, I've been to massage therapists where they're just there to get to this massage, and then it's almost like you almost feel like a slab of like beef or something.
Totally.
And then I've been to therapists where it's like their calling, it's their vocation, and you can feel the difference when that person's working on you. And it's the same thing with therapy. I've gone to therapists as a client that love their work and are truly authentic and that show up, and they obviously do their own work. And then unfortunately, I've been to therapists where it just feels like something's missing, and maybe it was a personality thing, but I think that you're right on it. You know, love your work and show up fully, and people can sense that. They will sense that.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the lightning round here. One tool or piece of technology or system that has helped your business.
Tool or system. I guess I'm gonna have to say a really nice website with the videos. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's something you shared about. And is the videos were you hired out for that? Same thing with the website, or is that something you did yourself, or did you find a company to do that for you?
I work with a great company. Computer Courage did my recent website, and the people who did my videos were One-to-One Box, and they're in San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put their links in the show notes page as well, just so people can reach out to them as well if they're in the Bay Area or beyond. And last question of the lightning round. One tip to get over the mental block of building a private practice business.
Well, one thing I did was I started meeting, I think it was every other week, with another therapist, and she was trying to build her practice. And we bounced a lot of things off of each other. Just like you're saying, you know, have somebody else look at your photo. I actually love when I'm working with somebody and I say, you know, can you think of 10 adjectives that come to mind when you think of me? And when they write those down, or I write them down about them, I do it with colors too. What are 5 colors you think of when you sit with me? You know, all those kinds of things are things that we don't normally track about ourselves, but others do. And so I think that's the block, is get out of your own head and collaborate.
Yes, that's awesome. That's great. I like that exercise. 10 adjectives that describe me. That's because we're so in ourselves, and we need that outside perspective. So
yeah.
Well, that's the end of the lightning round. I hope it wasn't too sweat inducing.
terrifying. No, it wasn't.
Okay, good,
It
good.
wasn't.
Great, Colleen. Well, and just wrapping up here, Colleen, how can the listeners and people watching the video, how can they connect with you?
Oh, well, my probably just email is the best. My website is ColleenWest.com, and my email address is contact@ColleenWest.com.
Okay, and that's 2 L's, 2 E's. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously 2 E's, but 2 L's in the middle and West. Just
People
like,
leave those out all the time.
yeah. So ColleenWest.com and contact@ColleenWest.com. And I'll again drop that in the show notes so everyone can check that out.
Okay, cool.
Well, thank you, Colleen. It's great to connect with you. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your experience, and it's truly great to chat with you today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brian.